All right, it is post HSG. Yay! So, what happened during this? So, I arrived at the imaging in the hospital. So, I went to the hospital and I arrived at the imaging department. And when I came back, I was expecting to go into a room, get a gown on, I actually just take my pants off and put a little blanket on. It's usually what happens during ultrasounds, and that's what I was expecting is an ultrasound. That's not what happened. So the assistant came and she got me from the waiting room and we went back to a locker room. In this locker room, I had to totally get undressed and put a gown and a robe on. And then I put those pretty little hospital socks on, the one with the little stickies on the bottom, and they were tan. So they were nice looking. I tried to steal them. I thought about stealing them, but then I didn't. But they were so cute. You would so love them. Maybe next time I go, I'll get you a pair too. So I got undressed, and she had told me to bring like underwear and a pad with me. And I wear thongs and thong pads. And I was like, okay, well, I just didn't bring it with me. Because she gave me this like thick, like long, weird. I was like, okay, I that's not going to fit with my underwear. I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just going to wing it, see what happens. So I get my gown on, I get my robe on, I sit out in the hallway. I literally sit in the hallway. People are like walking by, and I'm like, hi, how you doing? It was awkward. So finally she comes and gets me, and we go into the imaging room. It is not an ultrasound room. It is totally different. This HSG is actually an x-ray. It's not an ultrasound. And I was totally nervous when I saw the machine. So there was a restroom, and she's like, oh, this is your restroom. This is all for you. And I was like, what do I need a restroom for? This is weird. Okay. And then she has me go and hop up on the table. And so I just sit there, and it's kind of like a cross between an old school like lay down x-ray machine and a MRI. And on top is like a cassette, like you know how chiropractors or doctors had cassettes for your films for x-rays. It's kind of like a cassette thing. It was very interesting. So I start talking to the assistant. She's like, oh, did you take ibuprofen or Tylenol or something? I'm like, no, was I supposed to? Like, nobody told me this. Is this gonna hurt? Like, so I started getting nervous about it. And she said that some people it's really painful and some people it's not. And I was like, well, hopefully it's not because I didn't come prepared. Anyways, the gynecologist ends up showing up, and then what happens is the gynecologist shows up. She gets the dye all ready. I get on the table. I scoot down to her like I'm going to have a pelvic exam. I scoot down to her. When she's getting ready to put it in me, the assistant goes and gets the radiologist. Radiologist comes in. She has it inserted as we're waiting for the radiologist. So the catheter, so she has a syringe with a catheter, and the catheter goes right into my cervix, like right through my cervix into my uterus. And we sat there and waited for the radiologist to come back. It didn't feel good. It was crampy and sharp. If you've ever had an IUD, that's kind of what it felt like. I've also had colposcopies, which are little biopsies in my cervix. It could be compared to that as well. It wasn't very comfortable, but it wasn't horrible. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't crying because of pain. It wasn't horrible. It was a little sharp and a little crampy. And then when I'm laying there, she had me scoot all the way till my legs were straight, which I was afraid of because I didn't want it to move and hurt me. So I like inched like a turtle. And I was like, I'm so sorry. So I was all worked up. I was all nervous already. And then the radiologist shows up. He moves the cassette over my belly. And then there's a monitor that he moves so I could see the monitor too. And as we're watching the monitor, the doctor, the gynecologist, started inserting the dye. The dye comes in, and it just feels warm. Like, I didn't feel crampy. They said sometimes you feel crampy. I did not feel crampy during that time. I also have a pretty decent pain tolerance as well. So I didn't feel crampy at that time. It wasn't horrible for me. What you see is like just little puffs, like a little puff of fluid come out, And that's what we're looking for to make sure that those fallopian tubes are open. So thought they were done, and they were going back and forth of they saw the right fallopian tube, but they didn't see the left one. And he was like, did you see the left? And she's like, no, did you see the left? And he's like, I'm not sure. And what do you want to do? Then it was like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And it was back and forth. And then now I'm starting to cry because I'm like, oh, dear Jesus. The right one's open, the left one's not. This changes everything for us. Like, oh my gosh, if both of them aren't open, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, this is scary. Like, I was scared. I was like, oh, literally started praying on that table. Like, please, 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 let both of them be open. So they decided to get more dye and insert more dye. And the second time, the minute that they put the dye in, it went right through my left fallopian tube. Woo! I am so excited. Fallopian tubes are open. We are good to go. And now on to the next steps. I am so excited and relieved. And I'm a little crampy now. And I'm glad I'm off work today so I can put my pajamas on and just relax. So I'm a little crampy, have a pad on, like it's just charging a little bit, that kind of stuff. But I'm not too bad today, but a little crampy. Crampy, not crappy. Crampy. Anyways, that's it for nap time stories. Keep on dreaming.